All right, let's jump right in. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here for this explainer today. We're going to look at something that is probably sitting on your desk right now. Heck, it might even be in your hand. It's an object so incredibly common that we honestly rarely give it a second thought. But today, we're going to explore the fascinating step-by-step creation of this everyday object. We are breaking down exactly how a pencil is manufactured, taking it all the way from raw, dusty materials to that pristine, perfectly painted final product you use to jot down your notes.
Okay, let's dive into this by instantly shattering a pretty massive yet common misconception. Look at the core of this tool. What do most of us call it? Pencil lead, right? Well, what it actually is graphite. That's right, there is absolutely zero lead in your pencil. It's just a historical misnomer that has somehow stuck around for centuries. So right off the bat, we're completely shifting our understanding of what is actually inside this everyday writing tool.
Here's the agenda for today. 1. The myth of pencil lead. 2. Crafting the graphite core. 3. Making the wooden sandwich. 4. Shaping and finishing touches. 5. Erasers, inspections, and packaging.
Section 1. The myth of pencil lead. Not actually lead.
So as we just established, graphite is the actual black writing material found inside pencils. It's frequently, but entirely incorrectly, referred to as pencil lead. Now, despite what people call it day to day, we are dealing with a completely different raw material here. Graphite is actually a crystalline form of carbon. Now that we've cleared up that little naming confusion, we can shift our focus completely away from imaginary lead and look at how this raw graphite is actually prepared for your notebook.
Section 2. Crafting the graphite core. Making the core.
For this part, I actually want you to picture a giant industrial bakery. If you look at step 1, it starts with our recipe. Pure graphite powder is mixed with clay and water. You know, the clay is essentially the secret ingredient here. It's what binds the whole thing together. Once that recipe is thoroughly mixed into a thick paste, step 2 kicks in. This involves pushing this really heavy mixture through a massive machine to extrude it. This forms long, continuous, and very thin rods. But at this stage, they're incredibly soft. So moving to step 3, just like baking bread, these rods are carefully dried and then baked in a remarkably hot kiln. This vital baking process is exactly what transforms that soft paste into a strong, rigid core that won't just snap the second you press it against a piece of paper.
Section 3. Making the wooden sandwich. Preparing the wood.
Now, what's really interesting about this next step is how they actually encase the core. Because think about it, you can't just drill a perfectly straight, tiny hole all the way down the center of a long piece of wood. That would be practically impossible. So factories take a brilliant alternative approach. First, they cut soft wood, very often a reliable, easily sharpened wood like cedar, into incredibly thin wooden blocks called slats. Each of these slots is roughly half the thickness of what the final pencil is going to be. Then, highly precise machines carve these long, shallow grooves into each individual slat. These precise grooves are basically just waiting to serve as the perfectly sized home for our newly baked graphite rods.
And I absolutely love the specific terminology the manufacturing world uses here. Yes, the official source material actually calls it a sandwich. You really have to appreciate the industrial humor in that. The factory isn't just making a writing tool, it is essentially building a giant rectangular wooden sandwich, getting ready to layer all these components together.
All right, this is that incredibly satisfying moment on the assembly line where everything finally comes together. Step 1, those hardened, baked graphite rods are carefully placed right into the carved grooves of the bottom wooden slat. Once they're perfectly seated in there, step 2 happens. Another grooved wooden slat, covered in specialized adhesive, is glued directly on top. The core and the wood are finally united. They're clamped together until the glue dries, officially completing our massive cedar and graphite sandwich assembly.
Section 4. Shaping and finishing touches. The final look. Next, high-speed cutting wheels slice that glued wooden sandwich into individual pencils, shaping them into round, hexagonal, or even triangular profiles. Once they have their shape, the finishing process begins. They are sanded incredibly smooth and then run through paint baths for vibrant color, followed by a protective clear finish to really make them shine. Finally, stamping machines press the printed details, like the brand name and the specific graphite hardness, like HB or 2B, right into the wood. Literally, in just a few seconds, it completely transforms from a rough wooden block into a polished, fully branded tool.
Section 5. Erasers, inspections, and packaging. The final steps. So, an optional metal ferrule is attached to one end to securely hold the inserted eraser. I really want to point out that specific term for you, ferrule. It's that little crimped metal band right at the top of the pencil. So hey, next time someone asks you to borrow a pencil, you can totally impress them with your anatomy knowledge of this writing tool by pointing out the ferrule.
With the pencil fully assembled, the factory kicks into absolute overdrive for these final rapid life cycle steps. Let's run through them real quick. Step 1. Each and every pencil is visually and mechanically inspected for strict quality control. Step 2. Depending on the brand, some pencils are pre-sharpened right there on the line so they're ready to use straight out of the box. Step 3. Automated machines swiftly pack these fresh pencils into cardboard boxes. And step 4, those final boxes are loaded onto trucks and shipped directly to stores. Boom, boom, boom. Inspected, packed, and right out the door to the shelves.
So here is my final provocative thought for you to take away today. Take a look at the pencil on your desk right now. Did you ever really realize the incredibly complex, highly orchestrated manufacturing process that was required just so you could doodle on a notepad? It's kind of wild, right? As focused learners, it is just so rewarding to appreciate the hidden complexities of the everyday objects around us. It honestly changes how you see the world. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Stay curious, keep looking closely at the simple things, and I will see you next time.